Hi, thanks for watching BibleMountain.com. One of the concepts mentioned in the Bible is Christian unity. Unfortunately, Christians have elevated this teaching into one of the most important commands in the Bible. We use unity to justify and make excuses for sin. We use unity to prioritize our relationships with other people over our relationship with Christ. That means we're using Christian unity to make people more important than Jesus. Now, Luke 14 tells us to do the opposite. Luke 14 tells us to choose Jesus over family and friends. Exodus 32 contains a radical example of what it looks like to choose obedience to God over our relationships with family and friends. The Israelites had sinned. They worshipped a golden calf. And the sons of Levi were told to go out and kill those who were sinning. And so the sons of Levi had to make a choice. What was more important to them? Obeying God or keeping their relationship with their family and friends? And they chose to do the right thing. They chose to obey God, but that meant they had to go out and kill relatives, brothers, friends, and neighbors. Now let's take a closer look at this. We'll start in Luke 14, reading verse 25 and 26. Now large crowds were going along with Jesus, and Jesus turned and said to them, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple." So notice the word hate. That is strong language, but it teaches us the importance of choosing Jesus over people. It teaches us the importance of choosing obedience to Christ over our relationships with family and friends. Now there's an example of this in Exodus 32. As I said, the Israelites had sinned. They worshipped a golden calf. When Moses came down from the mountain, he destroyed the calf. He confronted Aaron, and then we read this. When Moses saw that the people were out of control, for Aaron had let the Israelites get out of control to be a derision among their enemies, then Moses stood in the gate of the camp and said, "Whoever is for Yahweh, come to me." And all the sons of Levi gathered together to Moses. So notice the Israelites were out of control. God wants order, and so it was not a good thing that the Israelites were out of control. Part of the concern was the Israelites would be a derision. In other words, the enemies of the Israelites would see the Israelites out of control and they would start to make fun of them, and that would make God look bad. And then we see that Moses called for anyone who was on Yahweh's side to come to him, and the sons of Levi went and gathered with Moses. Verse 27, Moses said to them, "Thus says Yahweh, the God of Israel, every man of you put his sword upon his thigh, and go back and forth from gate to gate in the camp, and kill every man his brother, and every man his friend, and every man his neighbor." So we see these sons of Levi were commanded to go out and kill. And we see they were supposed to kill brothers, friends, and neighbors. And so these sons of Levi had to make a choice. What was more important to them? Obeying God or preserving their friends and their brothers and their neighbors? Verse 28. So the sons of Levi did as Moses instructed, and about 3,000 men of the people fell that day. Then Moses said, "Dedicate yourselves today to Yahweh, for every man has been against his son and against his brother, in order that he may bestow a blessing upon you today." So we see the sons of Levi did as they were commanded. They did go out and they killed. And we see that because of that, because they chose obedience to God over their family and friends, that God bestowed a blessing on them. Now another verse we want to look at is 1 Corinthians chapter 5. This is verses 9 through 13. And this is Paul writing to the Corinthians. "I wrote you in my letter not to associate with immoral people. I did not at all mean with the immoral people of this world, or with the covetous and swindlers, or with idolaters, for then you would have to go out of the world. But actually, I wrote to you not to associate with any so-called brother if he is an immoral person, or covetous, or an idolater, or a reviler, or a drunkard, or a swindler, not even to eat with such a one. For what have I to do with judging outsiders? Do you not judge those who are within the church? But those who are outside, God judges. Remove the wicked man from among yourselves." And notice this last line, remove the wicked man from among ourselves. We are clearly commanded we are not supposed to tolerate those who practice sin. But as I said, Christians have taken Christian unity and we've elevated that command above all other commands. We've turned it into the most important command, and we use unity to justify and make excuses for sin. We use Christian unity as an excuse not to remove the wicked men from among ourselves. But that means that we're making people more important than Jesus. Luke 14 tells us to do the opposite. Luke 14 tells us to choose Jesus over people. We're supposed to choose obedience to Christ over our relationships with other people. And as I said, we have an example of this in Exodus 32. It's a radical example. Where the Israelites had sinned, they committed idolatry, they worshipped a golden calf. The sons of Levi were told to go out and kill family, friends, and neighbors. The sons of Levi had to choose what was more important to them, obedience to God or their relationships with family, friends, and neighbors. And they chose obedience to God, and they went out and killed those who needed to be killed. And that's an example for us, it's a lesson for us, that in our churches we need to choose obedience to Christ over our relationships with family and friends. Yes, Christian unity is important, but Christian unity is not the most important command. Obedience to Christ is the most important thing, and we have to obey Christ even if we have to sacrifice relationships with family and friends in order to do so. If you believe in what I'm doing here at Bible Mountain, please join my Patreon page so that I can continue to make these videos. Patreon is a membership platform that makes it easy for creators to have the resources they need to keep creating. In order to sign up, go to BibleMountain.com, click on Patreon. There will be a place there to sign up. Once again, thank you for watching BibleMountain.com.